We might need to start having the conversation that Boye Mafe is a top 10 defensive end in the NFL. Hey guys, I hope my melodramatic headline, YouTube title, as well as melodramatic cold open lured you in, but I don't think it's hyperbolic. Boye Mafe is having a hell of a season in his second year. I mean, he's the eye test. He's making a lot of plays, as we all see every Sunday. Statistically, he's at the top of the board of ESPN's pass rush win rate model. PFF has him with a high win rate. PFF and Sports Info Solutions have him with a high pressure rate. He's got, what has he got? Four or five sacks right now. Quarterback hits. So at least all the models are in agreement that this guy's pretty good. That he's matching what matches our eye test of what we're seeing. So we're going to get into his tape from this game against the Cardinals in chronological order, his impact plays, and what he did well. He's not just a traitsy player. He's really smart, and he's incredibly adaptable throughout a game. When we did the Panthers video a couple of weeks ago, we saw how he was able to unfurl a rush plan and adapt his rush angles to allow him to access the upfield shoulder on tackles. And basically how he was just able to put himself in position to be able to win consistently. This was another case. But what's cool about this game is that he did the same thing as far as getting himself into position on the upfield shoulder of the tackle. But the move he used once he was there was different. Last against the Panthers and Giants, he was using primarily speed swipes and like stab chop with a little bit of cross chops. This game, it was all cross chop, and he just spammed it. It never stopped working. So he just kept using it. That's the thing. He finds what works, and then he keeps using it until it's time to counter. So we're gonna hop into this. This first play, what's the down and distance? 1st and 10, first play of the game. Geez, it's not a crazy play. He's rushing the speed path from the right tackle, Paris Johnson, and he gets the kind of starts to flatten about 8-9 yards. But this is important, though. It's important to, I think, recognize, because this is going to be charted as a win probably by ESPN and PFF, and it's a quick game concept. Paris Johnson knows he doesn't need to protect for that long. It's actually not quick game, tank. So it's technically a gun three, a 3-step drop. So a 3-step drop from gun. So therefore a 5-step concept. And by Hank, it's curl flat. So outside receivers running curls. Then you have a flat route, then an over the ball route by the tight end. But Hank is still a quick rhythm developing play, even though it's not quick game technically. Paris Johnson knows he doesn't have to protect for very long, but he's still giving up the outside. If the quarterback Dobbs has to hold the ball, then he might be running into trouble. Now he doesn't have to hold the ball, but if we're just isolating Mafe versus Paris Johnson, I think Mafe wins, although not egregiously. But so like his win rate right now is absurdly high, 31%. His pressure rate is probably going to be closer to like 15, 17, 18%. So the more, I think the theme is, the more wins you have, the more percentage of those are going to be pressures, and the more pressures you have, the likelier chance you're going to convert those to sacks. So this is his, like this right here is pushing it in terms of the classification of win versus pressure. But the more rushes you have that look like that, the more likely it is that some of those are going to turn into a pressure, is what I'm saying. So we kind of have a win to pressure conversion and then a pressure to sack conversion. And he's doing well on every step of the way there on that kind of stepping stone progression. So this is where the party really starts to kick off for him. Excuse me. He wins. So this is a 3rd down. I think there is a penalty on the Cardinals. It's 3rd and 5, but he's bringing pressure on a pass down. It's must have. You have to bring pressure here. They're mugging the A gap, so he knows he's getting a one-on-one. And he hits that cross chop, and then he flattens He flattens at what does he do? He corners at 5, 6, 7, 8. So he's bending in at 6, 7, 8 yards. And against the Panthers, it took him a lot of time to figure out how to impact Akimi Kongu's set so that he can bend this at 7 or 8 yards. He's doing that early now against Paris Johnson. Now, we can make arguments of quality of opponent. That's valid. But Mafe's a 2-year player. His big game against the Panthers, he was going up against also second-year player, top 10 pick Akimi Kongu, was taken ahead of Charles Cross. Paris Johnson Jr. was highly touted coming out against the Giants. He went against Ryan Neal, who's been playing well this year, and he didn't made him not look very good. So he's going up against guys that are in similar areas of their career, and he's beating them. So we can kind of compare apples to apples. It's talented young player versus talented young player, and he's winning those. But let's take another look at this rush. So he's rushing speed. He's not rushing down the center line. He's just betting that he can beat him to a point. And then once he does, the hand timing, man. The hand timing is insane. His inside arm is cross dropping. He's expanding out with his left foot to expand. Then he pins it back and rips through. So he's affecting the play. The quarterback was hurried on that, and he threw a high pass. Excuse me. So we got another one. This I think was to end the second half. So this is a good play because he's varying his he's reading the rush on this one. So let's look at the end zone angle. So Paris comes out quick because he wasn't beating him to the spot earlier when Mafe was rushing speed. So the outside path, when he rushes more the inside path, or excuse me, because of that, Paris Johnson's coming out of his set quicker and is trying to gain depth to match him to stay with good positioning. Mafe reads that, he comes out quick, and it's kind of got quick feet here. Mafe reads that and ends up pressing him instead. He presses him with his right foot, gives him a jab step to keep him short, to keep the corner short. That we'll see here. See how the corner is shorter now? So now he's winning at 2-3 yards and bending it because he has the strength through contact to bend that through. So that's him. When I said adaptability, he's adapting to what the tackle is doing to him. And the ability to process that quickly is really impressive. So, I mean, he's getting immediate pressure here. He's getting a hit on the quarterback. Yeah, poor Dobbs. The very next play, 3rd and 12, he's trying to get the team off the field to end the half here. Same thing. So Johnson comes out quick again, but he has a little bit better footwork. He stays square with his post foot, his inside foot, which gives the tackle better positioning. Mafe reads that, works outside, inside, and then outside again. So he's toying. He's playing with his feet at this point. So he comes out rushing speed. Johnson matches him pretty quickly. So he turns it back in to really shorten that corner. So he's putting an extra move on to shorten the corner relative to the pass play, and he's hitting the cross trap again. So the inside arm, the right arm, is timing Johnson's hands, who's trying to recover to him, working to the outside. He times it, pins them down, bends through, rips through, and bends through, and finally gets his sack. So that's a monster play. That's honestly, it's top 10 edge stuff right now. Another one. So Johnson has no answer for this right now. Pure speed, cross chop, ripping through. He's flattening at, what is he flattening at? 7, 8, 9 yards. So he's not, earlier in the year, he's getting pushed down to right here, the 11, 12 yard range. At least like the first game of the season, second game of the season. And then last year, excuse me, last year he wasn't finding that angle at all. It wasn't because he didn't have the moves. It was because he didn't have the snap timing with his get off and the rush angles. But at the top of the rush, where he's actually put right there, he's always had this. He had that at Minnesota. That was never the issue. It was getting to this position relative to the tackle that was the issue. And then a understated element of this, understated by me, is that he's incredibly strong. Like the cross chop works not just because of technique, but because when he's chopping down, like that's incredibly powerful moves going down, and it's knocking Paris Johnson's arms down, basically nullifying his arms. He's got crazy long arms. So he kicks once. Chris Johnson does the right tackle, kicks twice. He's expanding out. The speed is starting to threaten Johnson a little bit, so he panics and sticks his arms out, giving Mafe exactly what he wants. As he chops through, his hips and toes are getting around. So how deliberate he is with his right foot, getting the toe pointed toward the quarterback's upfield hip and shoulder, is what mitigates his lack of natural bend and agility, the natural bend and agility that Uchenna Nwosu and Darrell Taylor have in spades. The difference is that he's got all this power at the top of the rush and the deliberate footwork to account for that. Every pass rusher has weaknesses, but they can still be really effective if they know how to account for their weaknesses. That's what he's doing. It's only guys like Von Miller, Pete Khalil Mack, Joey or Nick Bosa, whoever you want, where they really are weakness proof. Yeah, he hit the cross chop like 4 or 5 times this game. This is another one where this is him being adaptable and reading the rush. So Paris Johnson wants to get outside quickly, but when he does that, so the outside is canceled. But when he's doing that, his chest is high and he's kind of giving him an easy bull rush. So Mafe reads that, and instead of just spamming what's worked for him, he goes, well, I'm just going to take what he's giving me. I'm going to power him back. And Mafe has good power. Excuse me. So he rushes speed to power on that one. Let's see. Did I mess up the recording? Yeah. So he rushes him. It's not a crazy bull rush, but it's an effective one. It's enough to get Dobbs out of the pocket almost to his platform. And then he gets held. He draws a holding call. And they almost pick that off. This last one, I like this one because it kind of blends everything that he's done. He reads that he can get outside. Paris Johnson is working crazy hard to not give up the outside. So he gives him his right arm, Paris Johnson does, but then he takes it back. So he refuses to get cross-chopped because he's lost to it like 5 times at this point. He refuses to get cross-chopped. Mafe feels that in the middle of the rush, realizes that he failed right there, and then immediately just turns it into a bull rush. Now it's speed to power, and he almost gets a handle on the quarterback. So, I mean, that's him putting together his entire rush plan. That's him adapting on the fly, reading the rush, continuing to read the rush, and having the adaptability and ability to improvise to work through it. He's really putting it all together. I think he's definitely going to end the year with double-digit sacks. He might get a Pro Bowl bid. He might be good enough to carry the load now that Uchenna Nwosu is out, unfortunately. But he's really an emerging star right now, and I didn't dislike him in Minnesota. I just liked other edges relative to him more in that draft. And so far, he's looking like probably the third best one right now. So that's, and he's a second-round pick. So, I mean, they were first-round trades for sure. I just didn't think he was a first or second-round player, but he's proven me wrong because at this point, he certainly is. So hopefully we see more of it. We're going to have more videos like this coming out. Be sure to check out, we have more, be sure to check out our podcast, Seattle Overload. You can get that wherever you get your podcasts. You can get on YouTube as well. Me, Maddie, and Ty are pumping out videos. Maddie and I have a longer video where we do tape breakdowns like this, but it goes on for like 45 minutes. We'll talk about more in-depth concepts, more players, themes, etc. And then we also have a weekly guest. We just did one with Mark Schofield, who kind of has a national lens, but he does do a lot of work on the Browns. So we have the preview with the Browns coming out. All right, check it out.